right, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Cohen back with you here on the Sports Talk Nation, and the Subway Series is now complete here. The first round of the Subway Series here in 2025 is now complete, so let's get right into it as the Yankees flex their muscles against the Mets. So, obviously, here in New York, in the tri-state area, all the talk, of course, is on the Knicks. I'm going to do a separate video on the Knicks this week, of course, certainly before Wednesday when they kick off the Eastern Conference Finals, because it's been a long time coming, folks, since the Knicks have been this good, and they've been a big story. And of course, they have all the attention in the Big Apple here in this area. But for a couple of days here, the Mets and Yankees have gotten everyone's attention again. And out of this Subway Series, as the Yankees win on Sunday night, 8-2 in a game that was tense. It felt like a postseason game, felt like a World Series, and it certainly kind of played out like a World Series. And for the Met fan, for the Mets, it kind of felt familiar from that standpoint, not in a good way, because the way that game ended, Pete Alonso with a throwing error that drives in Jason Dominguez on that squeeze play. Reminded a lot of people of the Lucas Duda era back in the 2015 World Series. It was not a good feeling watching that play happen as Alonso airmails the ball over the head of catcher Francisco Alvarez. And then a couple batters later, Cody Bellinger sends one into the seats as the Yankees win 8-2. And really, it feels like these two teams right now, both teams are first-place teams. And yes, it's only May. But what you saw from this series and you saw from this game on Sunday is, I think from the Yankees standpoint, things that you have to feel good about, also things you have to be concerned about. And from the Mets standpoint, there are a lot of concerns, especially with this offense. And look, these are two very good teams. These are two teams that are going to probably make the playoffs this year. I would think that's a pretty safe assumption, although it is still a long way to go in the 2025 season. But the Mets scare me right now. They really are starting to scare me. Because since that great start to the season, when the Mets were 18-7 and had just swept away the Phillies, and you're thinking, my God, this team looks fantastic right now here to start the season, and are not hitting on all cylinders. Well, they're still not hitting on all cylinders, especially offensively. And since that 18-7 start, they've gone 11-11 exactly. And they're right now in the middle of a very tough stretch in their schedule. The Mets hit only 153 inside this series in the three games. 153 as a team. 14 hits in 91 trips to the plate. Juan Soto, 1 for 10. Pete Alonso, 2 for 12. Francisco Lindor, 1 for 12. Brandon Nimmo, 2 for 10. Mark Vientos, 2 for 11. And there were a couple of times in this series where it looked like the Mets had home runs that all ended up dying at the warning track or just before the warning track. Alonso had one that he thought he had lined up for a home run off Max Fried in the first inning on Sunday. Ball died right before the warning track. Same thing happened to Mark Vientos on Saturday. Ball died at the warning track in the left field corner. And then Brett Beatty also on Saturday looked like he had a grand slam, but that ball died before the wall in right. And this is supposed to be Yankee Stadium. This is supposed to be the bandbox of all bandboxes, and the Mets couldn't take advantage of it. So I'm really worried about where this offense is because we haven't seen anything change from where we were at the start of the year. It's really the same story. Mets hit 255 as a team in April, and they're hitting about that right now. If you count this game, before this game, they're hitting only 258 as a team. But it's the same story. If the Mets aren't getting anything out of Alonso and Lindor, and even Soto, they don't hit at all offensively. And in this series, those three guys didn't do anything. And yes, the Mets did win a game by the skin of their teeth on Saturday, 3-2, but they didn't have enough offense. And it's frustrating to see a game like this on Sunday from the Mets standpoint because it was there for the taking. The pitching was fantastic for the Mets in this game up until the end. David Peterson was matching zeros with one of the best pitchers in baseball in Max Fried, who could be an early first-half candidate for a Cy Young, the way he's been pitching so far this year. Was 6-0 coming into the game with a microscopic ERA, and David Peterson's matching zeros with him inning for inning. After giving up those 2 runs early, Mets didn't give up anything until the 8th inning. So that's what was so frustrating, because it was right there for the taking for them, and they couldn't take advantage of it. Now, I don't know what's really going on with Juan Soto. It seems that it's like he's swinging in mud. I don't know how else to phrase it. It's like he's trying to figure it out. He knows he's lost the plate, and he just can't seem to find it. I don't know if it's the pressure of the contract anymore. I don't know if it's the pressure of being really the centerpiece in this lineup. Not having an Aaron Judge. Remember, he did mention that, in April. And I kind of, poo-pooed that at the time. But now I'm beginning to wonder, is all this in his head at this point? Soto hitting right now, 246, 8 homers, and 20 RBIs. And it's probably a little lower than that now after going 0 for 4 on Sunday night. I'm beginning to wonder what's going on here. And all this stuff about, look, the Yankee fan, I'll say this about the hate that he's been getting from Yankee fans, I think is ridiculous. There have been so many players that have changed teams, and there have been so many players that have changed teams between these two teams. Gone back and forth between the Mets and the Yankees, that the vitriol that Juan Soto has received from Yankee fans, I think, is completely unjustified and unfair. This is a player who was fantastic for the Yankees last year, took him to a World Series, and then made a business decision. He got more money and what he wanted in incentives from the Mets than what he was going to get from the Yankees. That's his decision. You have no power over that. You want to boo him? Okay, fine. I understand going across town from the Yankees to the Mets, but the vitriol is ridiculous. Get over it. He made a business decision. He went across town, and let's be honest, the way the Yankees are going right now, they might be better off without him. I mean, Yankee fans got to get a grip over this with Juan Soto. Enough. I mean, turning your back on him, and not just the booing is one thing, but these ridiculous signs. Like I saw one guy comparing him to Judas. I mean, are you out of your mind? Enough. It's so silly. Get over it. Met fans lose Jacob deGrom in free agency, guy who spent 9 years with the team, and he goes to Texas, and Met fans are over it in a split second, and the Yankees can't get over Juan Soto. The guy is hitting 240 on the year. Get over it. He's the Mets' problem right now, and the Mets and Juan Soto, they got to figure this out. Maybe he needs a couple of days off. I don't know what you have to do if you're Carlos Mendoza to really get him going. It just feels like he's really stuck in the mud. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Carlos Beltran, his first year with the Mets back in 2005, where you get this great player who is a really, really good hitter. Now, Beltran may be more of an all-encompassing, a much better, well-rounded player than Soto is, but the fact is that these were two really great hitters who struggled in their first year in Queens, and Soto is certainly doing in that situation right now with the Mets. They've got to figure it out with him. And I think they need to find some help. As we move into the summer here, they need another bat in that lineup. I don't know where they're going to get it, because Brandon Nimmo right now is hitting 225. You're not getting anything out of second base, really, out of Luis Angel Acuna, who's only had 6 RBIs all year. And yes, he's hitting 259, but only a 317 on-base percentage. Jeff McNeil, of course, just came off the injury list, and he had a really good series, I thought, against the Yankees this weekend. Francisco Alvarez is giving you nothing behind the plate as far as offense is concerned. Brett Beatty has been very inconsistent with the bat, either subbing at third or subbing at second or wherever he can get playing time. He's been inconsistent. Jesse Winker's been hurt. Starling Marte's been hurt or hasn't played much, and he's hitting around 192. They need help, do the Mets, in this lineup. They need a big bat. And right now, look, I would have to, I could do another video on this later after I scour really some of the bad teams that could be out of it. to find a bat that is going to come in here and be a help to the Mets. Maybe a Nolan Arenado or somebody like that. Because the Mets need someone, whether it's a DH, a third baseman, another outfielder to maybe play center field. They need someone who has a bat, a big-time bat that can take some pressure off of these guys, especially the top three in that lineup, and get some big hits in big spots. They need that badly. The pitching has been solid. It's been great all year. Kudos to Jeremy Hefner, who has just been an incredible pitching coach for this team because he continues to get so much out of guys who, coming into the year, we thought the pitching was the biggest concern for the Mets, and it hasn't been the case. Griffin Canning has been great. Clay Holmes has been great. David Peterson picking up where he left off last year. Kodai Senga looks like the guy we saw 2 years ago when he was healthy. I mean, their pitching has been good. The bullpen scares the crap out of you as far as the Mets are concerned, but for the most part, the pitching has been very solid in that regard. But I'm scared of this offense, and the schedule for the Mets does not get any easier. They get Boston right away in the next couple of days here in Boston. Then they get the Dodgers coming to town over the weekend. And then, yes, it does ease up a little bit with the White Sox and Rockies next week towards Memorial Day. But then it picks up right again at the start of June with the Dodgers again. And I could go deeper into that June schedule with the Braves and the Phillies that are going to follow after that going into June. But the fact is, the Mets are going to play some tough games here with the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and eventually they'll go back into the division again with Atlanta and Philadelphia. I'm scared of where this offense is right now, and they need answers, and they need them fast. As far as the Yankees are concerned, I think what you take out of this series is that this team just knows how to play. One, they obviously know how to play to their ballpark, but they're just a good team in pressure spots. They're better built than the Mets are. They're a better team in pressure spots. They're more postseason ready. This felt like a postseason series. It had that feel all weekend, especially on Sunday night. They just know how to get it done. You have guys who are they have three former league MVPs in that lineup. Obviously, an Aaron Judge. Okay, we all know what he can do with the bat. He had a fairly quiet series this weekend, but his presence is a huge factor no matter what happens when you're facing the Yankees. And then you have veteran hitters like Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger who are just professional hitters. And having that tall, lanky, powerful left-handed hitter in Cody Bellinger in that lineup, as he basically replaces Juan Soto, and he just gets the job done. And he got the job done this weekend. He had 6 RBIs on Sunday. He has now 33 RBIs on the year. He now has 8 home runs on the year. This guy's going to have a monster season. And as the weather gets warmer, Cody Bellinger's numbers are just going to get better. He could be a 30-95 guy, maybe even 3,100 by the end of the season for the Yankees, especially as we get towards June, July, and August. He is going to have a monster season. Having that kind of bat in the lineup makes a big difference for the Yankees. And then when you take a look at the young guys, the guys that we saw come up with Somerset all those years, the last few years, and Dominguez and Wells and Volpe, and they got guys, the Yankees just know how to develop young players, and here those guys are, and they're a threat to do damage in this lineup. There is no easy out in the Yankee lineup compared to, let's say, the Mets. Right now, anyway. So that's really the difference between the two teams. Both teams have, I would say, fairly equal pitching. Yankees, of course, have, they would love to have Garrett Cole, obviously. He's not going to pitch for them at all this year after Tommy John surgery, as you all know that. And the Yankees certainly have their concerns as far as injuries in their starting rotation, but for the most part, they have been fairly consistent pitching-wise and has been too brutal. Of course, Carlos Carrasco aside, that's another story. But Fried, Rodon, Clark Schmidt, Will Warren, not bad, not terrible, pretty good. And of course, Fried has been fantastic for the Yankees this year. So from that standpoint, they're both pretty even, but it's the offense that really stood out in this series, and it's the Yankees' ability to hit in the clutch. Sorry, I'm just kind of getting over a cold here from this past week. Yankees are very good in the clutch offensively, and the Mets right now are not. And that's the biggest difference between the two teams here as we end this Subway Series, the first round of the Subway Series here in 2025. So, folks, leave your thoughts below. How do you feel about these two teams, Yankees, Mets? How do you feel this thing is heading towards right now as we move forward? Yankees right now, let's just take a quick look at the schedule here. They are going to have Texas coming up this week. That should be very interesting at the stadium. Jacob deGrom, by the way, will be pitching at Yankee Stadium on Wednesday. And then they get a very favorable schedule here the next week and a half. Texas, Colorado, the Angels, all bad teams. Yankees can make some hay here before they too face the Dodgers in L.A. May 30th to June 1st. And those are, of course, World Series rematches coming up in about a week and a half. So, folks, leave your thoughts below. Subway Series 2025, how did you feel about it? We'll talk to you next time right here on the Sports Talk Nation.